brought us my arch nemesis, the Ol Yaller 4.
You love this thing.
This is a fabulous car. It's actually Ol Yaller 3. It's the third one that he built. He built the car in 1959 for Haskell Wexler, a pretty well-known Hollywood camera guy in the day. And it was actually the only Ol Yaller that Max Balchowsky ever built that was intended primarily for street use, not as a racing car, although it was such a well-engineered vehicle that it was actually raced, and with some success.
What's it built on? Does it start off as something, the chassis or something?
No, the chassis was actually designed on the floor of his garage in North Hollywood using a piece of chalk. He laid it out and welded up the steel tubes to make his own unique frame, over which he hammered aluminum body panels. It's very lightweight, but it's a serious car.
And now Max built a lot of Cadillac engines, but this is a Buick engine?
This is a Buick engine. It's a Buick nailhead. Not the best breathing engine in the world because of the small valves, but boy, potent. Very potent in this application. This thing can really move down the road.
So now, it's essentially a big block?
It is a big block. You bet. A big block in a car that does not weigh a great deal. Very comfortable to drive, I might add. The seats are comfortable, the driving position's comfortable. He built it actually with a full-width windscreen because it is a sports car, so it's comfortable for two people. It has doors, unlike a lot of cars in the era.
See, if I rode in this car, I'd be like, hey, where's my roll bar? Don't worry about it, sweetie. You duck if we go over.
The supplemental roll bar option.
Yeah, what happened to me is, and this one looks like it's not quite just a straight open pipe, but I was at a very nice mixer up at Pebble Beach, and it was one of those, country club gigs where, I think it was put on by, doers or something, and there were guys in kilts teaching you how to get drunk, and you're looking around drinking it, I don't know, Blue Label or Johnny Walker, whatever. And so everyone's just sitting around, literally like chamber music on top of this hill.
Those are the best events where there's an alcohol consultant.
Free food, and there's a guy in a kilt helping you get drunk. And I was just standing there, and I was probably about this far away, and I was talking to some guy that was facing this way, and I'm holding my Johnny Walker or whatever. And the guy, Ol Yeller's there, and the guy's going to fire it up. He didn't go to say anything. So he's got a whole bunch of people just with their back turned.
No clear, no fire in the hole.
There's nothing, and it's all you hear is like chamber music, And we're all standing around looking at the sunset, all of a sudden, and everybody just threw their, they threw their crab cakes up in the air, and I was like, hey man, do a, all right people.
Yeah.
Fire in the hole.
Fire in the hole on the construction site when they pull out that actuating. It's a powder actuated pin driver. The Hilti gun. When that thing comes out,
I was going to say that.
Fire in the hole, or you might hear the occasional earache, and then boom. But it gives you a minute just to poise yourself emotionally.
Did you drop your booze?
Oh no! I dropped everything else.
Threw up your crab cakes, but you got the drink. That's
and
good.
This thing would have been out with the Ferraris, and I don't know if this, but I know Ol Yaller would be out there with the pontoon Ferraris, I think, and maybe the birdcage Maseratis.
Exactly. This car actually harkens a little bit to the pontoon Ferrari. You can notice, immediately behind the front wheels how cut in it is, and the bodywork extends inside of the exhaust headers. This car, it was called Ol Yaller because it really gave people an idea that it was a junkyard dog. But not just any junkyard dog, because here's Max Balchowsky, a guy doing things in his own backyard, putting together a combination of parts, engine, chassis that he built himself, body, everything that drubbed the Ferraris and Maseratis, everything in its way. It just cleaned up the racetracks. And that was a little embarrassing for a lot of car companies. Here this guy, from California comes in and kind of takes over with cars like this. And it has a certain sexiness to it.
How many did he end up making?
9.5. He was working on his 10th when he passed away. And
what year would that have been?
That would have been only about 12, 15 years ago.
Everyone's running the same spoked rims.
Right.
Everyone's basically on the same tire technology. Everyone's running a live rear axle. So it's like, horsepower to weight ratio.
Yeah.
So you just go, I'm going to make a car that weighs 1,900 pounds, whatever. I'm going to put a big, huge V8 in it. You do the math.
Yeah.
Like no one else has a wind tunnel, so who cares?
Well, back in this day, the engineering was a lot more approachable. You could put the disparate parts together, and if you needed something special, you could make it yourself and reasonably expect it to do pretty well. Now cars are so complicated that it takes a cadre of engineers just to design 2 or 3 suspension components. And
You said the body is all aluminum, but the frame is steel.
oh yeah, it's welded steel.
But really, at this point, the engine is the heaviest thing, and that's the only real weight of this car.
Exactly. The engine, well, the body. I mean, there's some meat to the chassis because it's pretty stiff. It's a tube frame, but the engine is the single heaviest component to the.
Can we look
whole
at the
car.
engine? I'm curious to know how far.
Yeah, you
back it
bet.
is.
Every car he made ended up being called Ol Yaller. Ol Yaller 2 is a pretty popular car that is probably one of the most pivotal cars that he
What
ever
was
did.
his background, or how did he make his living?
He was really a self-taught guy. He didn't have a lot of formal education in this, but he worked on plenty of hot rods and cars in his day, and he was one of those unique people that had just kind of a feel about the things. He had this innate intuitive sensibility that he could put things together, and he knew it worked. He also knew it didn't work.
And he, damn it, I'm starting to have respect for this car.
It's hard not to.
We'll take it outside. We'll fire it up. It'll scare the
It's
shit
hard
out of
not
you,
to.
and all of this will be. You'll be back to where you were before.
Now, this is Buick Motors we discussed. He did Cadillac as kind of what I have old Hino Transport with one of his Cadillac motors in it that transport. Leslie's licking his chops over there. They're going to do a transport.
Cool.
You guys got to do a transport.
He's thinking of his
coming up.
exhibits.
Got to take it somehow.
This carried the old Datsun Roadster in this Hino Transport. But anyway.
It's one of those things Les made you buy. It's like, you need this for the Roadster. Come
That's
on,
right.
you need this for the Roadster.
Very true.
Plus, you're the only one who would buy it.
That's true too. He did Cadillac and Buick. I mean, I think everyone else is between Ford, Chevy, and maybe a little Mopar in here. Why do you think he was a Cadillac Buick guy?
I don't know, but some people kind of go counter to the flow. They're kind of it's a counterpoint, I guess is what you could call it. And maybe he was the kind of person who thought, well, everybody's doing this. Why don't I do this other thing? Let's see if I can tweak this engine that nobody's even looking at to get the maximum horsepower out of it.
I love that these control arms are all drilled out.
It's insane. It's everything is just jewel-like in its design, not necessarily execution.
Yeah.
Because it is an Ol Yaller, it is a junkyard dog, but it's really well thought out.
You've got an engine that weighs 800 pounds.
A few hundred pounds. Yeah.
So you drill them out for the lightweight, but look how far back it is behind.
It's
mid-engine.
Also,
It's a mid-engine.
It
it's a
moves all of
front
that.
mid-engine car.
Right.
So the balance is really good. And this thing, she can lift her skirts and run down the road.
Yeah.
This is a not just fast, but quick car.
I'm trying to figure out the front suspension here because I'm seeing a shock absorber. Do they have some sort of torsion suspension, or where's the spring part that doesn't exist? I'm trying to figure out, because that's like Porsche, you go, well, either you have a spring or you have a leaf spring or you have the Porsche torsion.
There's a torsion arm here that's attached to the middle, but then it connects here and then it goes up that way.
Exactly. It's a
okay.
very,
So-
very
so
long torsion
So
rod
there's
that extends.
there's no sway bar basically going front side to side.
There is. Oh, it looks like down low, or maybe I'm looking at
I
something
think you can
else.
even see it behind the exhaust pipes on the
But
outside.
it's a torsion suspension.
It's not
You're
a
right.
coil spring.
Underneath there's a small sway bar, but this torsion arm you're talking about goes all the way along the side there. But that's kind of a neat
It's
idea.
not coil spring, definitely.
Yeah, a lot of really neat technology, and one of the coolest things ever, which is the massive drum brake. I love the huge aluminum cap on that. It's just a great vintage look.
Yeah, with the fins on it.
Right.
The fin drums for heat dissipation. It's just so interesting. And all the, and if you get up close, you can see all the little tube frames that he used to anchor and support the body, the coachwork.
Yeah.
And when the car was donated to us, it was donated by a Dr. Bruce Jacobs some years ago. He actually donated additional parts. He had another rear tail section, he had a front section, and like I mentioned before, the proper windshield for around town touring.
a really cool piece. Leslie Kendall, thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you,
Peterson
Adam.
Museum.
Peterson.org, is that right?
Petersen.org.
.org, and that's where you can find all the dates and all the events.
Yeah.
And we're going to take this thing outside and fire it up so you guys can hear it. I'm going to be at home, but it'll be fired up nonetheless. And until next time, this is Adam Carolla for Matt D'Andrea and Leslie, I almost said Peterson, Leslie Kendall, good racing name, saying keep the air in the spare and the bag in the wheel.